as I walked in the deli, the two guys were behind me, the two agents. I walked into this private dining room and there was about 8 FBI agents. They told me, I got kind of shocked, and they said, don't worry, we're not here to arrest you, we just want to talk to you.
När man börjar med det här så är det ju, man gör det för spänningens skull. Självklart, det är lite äventyrslystnad, plus att jag gjorde för ett rättsstatus och tyckte att det var den rätta saken att göra. Sen när man kommer in i den här världen, det är en helt ny värld man kommer in i. Det är mycket pengar, flashiga bilar, mycket kvinnor, fest, kändisar. Man blir helt enkelt en jetsättare. Så var det i alla fall på den tiden i Stockholm.
So they told me to sit down. I sat down, and they said, "Look, we got you on some other stuff. You probably won't get any time. You might get a year, but the next time we get you, you're going to go down for like for life or 100 years for RICO." And they said, "If not, you're going to get killed on the street." And I said, "Well, I don't want to testify against my friends." And they said, "We don't care about your friends. We want you to keep," because I used to travel everywhere, so they said, "We want you to keep traveling and meet other Cosa Nostra guys," which is the mafia, in other states, and then we just want intelligence. And we want you to wear a wire and then record conversations. And then I said, "I don't know." And they said, "But here's what we're going to offer you. We're not going to give you any money, we're not going to give you anything, we're going to offer you a fresh start, a new life." And it sounded good to me, so I said, "Okay." And that's it. I made the decision, and that was the day. And I asked them, right before I left, I asked them, "How long is this going to take?" And they said, 6 months to a year tops. Well, it lasted 8 years.
It's like a sane person actually goes schizophrenic. I mean, when I was home, I was just me. But when I took those clothes on, I just turned to become another person. It's the same thing as like an actor in a movie. They have to read this role, and they have to play this role as good as they can. For me, it was like a role of life. When I took those clothes on, when I took my colors on, I had to think criminal.
När man rekryterar en person så är det klart att det är av störst intresse att personen finns i en miljö där det överhuvudtaget finns intressant information att inhämta. Det är ju det handlar om, informationsinhämtning. Och sen att personen är påverkbar så att man kan få honom att börja arbeta för oss. Det är ju de viktigaste sakerna. Sen finns det ju många anledningar varför de då väljer att arbeta för oss. De kan ju vara allt från agentromantiker, att man tycker att det här är någonting häftigt coolt, till hämnd exempelvis. Man kanske blir illa behandlad av en person eller någon konstellation. Det finns många olika anledningar.
The three types of informants that we have in the state of California and then with the federal system when I was involved in task force work is you have a civilian informant, which they usually call in and give an information based that they're doing on civic duty. Hey, I want to tell law enforcement about these bad people, the bikers, the Hells Angels, the Mongols, the mob, or even a neighbor that's selling drugs out of their house just because they feel that it's their civic duty to do so. Those are very rare, but you do get them. The second informant is usually a paid informant that goes from agency to agency, federal agency, say FBI, ATF, DEA, work in different cases. Narcotics cases, bookmaking cases, gambling cases, prostitution cases, and those informants are doing it strictly for financial gain. They know they have information, they actually hang around a lot of shady people, criminal element, so why not profit from it? And that's what they usually do. They get signed up and then they're working and they'll work with law enforcement strictly for financial gain. The 95% of the informants are defendants, people that have been arrested, prosecuted before, or they're looking at some serious state or federal time and they want to work their case off. And basically it's a point scale in the federal system. The less points you get, the less time you're going to do. So it's in their best interest to work with law enforcement to get their prison sentence reduced. And that's 95% of the informants.
Jag har inte tjallat, mitt jobb var att sätta dit dem. Och det är stor skillnad från någon som har varit kriminell och sen helt plötsligt får rädda sig själv eller få bättre förmåner tjallar. Det är en helt annan sak.
They offered me a chance to change my life, and I decided I wanted to do it. And I got disillusioned with the whole mob thing because I'd been doing it for 20 years, and I realized that the honor and all that stuff was just a bunch of crap. It wasn't for real. As soon as someone got arrested, they would steal their things and they would never help out someone's family, or they'd give the family like $200. I mean, the guy has to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for lawyer bills, everything, and then he would come out and have nothing. So I decided that it was just all fake.
Jag kan ju säga så att min erfarenhet och min kunskap, jag vet om det, ska jag säga att över 90% av alla kriminella lämnar information till polisen. Speciellt om det är en chef eller om det har kommit upp det eller att det är en ledare för en grupp som lämnar information. Sen kanske inte lämnar information om sig själva eller om sina kompisar eller sitt gäng, men de lämnar alltid information om sina konkurrenter eller motståndare och så vidare för att bli av med konkurrens, kunna förbättra sina egna möjligheter att sälja narkotika eller ta över till ett nytt territorium, större, utvidga och så vidare. Det är väldigt vanligt.
I felt like I was betraying everything I knew because I'd been a criminal for 20 years. I felt apprehensive, kind of scared about the whole thing, and I just decided, I'm the kind of person that just, when I decide to do something, I go 100%. So I went 100%. And at first I didn't feel bad because the people that I was wearing a wire against, I really didn't know at that point. I knew them high by, or I'd met them, or they're just criminals. So it really wasn't a big deal. But then as I got to know people and I started spending time at their houses, dinners, holidays, it got harder.
My own experience with Kenny is he's definitely one of the better informants I've ever worked with. Just based on his history, street smart, way of getting around. He's a people's person. He knows the system. He knows the streets. He knows the crooked, shady stuff that's going on out there. He could adjust to his environment. So he's one of these street kids that could easily get into any type of group, whether it be the bikers, LCN. Any other type of groups. He's a people's person, and he knows how the game is played on the street.
Det svåraste när man hanterar en informatör, det är det här med att behålla fokus på det professionella planet, att inte bli... Det är ofrånkomligt när det är två människor att man inte får någon form av känslor för varandra. Så blir det, även om man håller det på professionell nivå. Men man blir ju kanske inte vänner, man blir ju lite mer kompisar i alla fall på något vis. Man har med varandra att göra ganska mycket, och det kan vara situationer som är pressande för informatören, och då vill de ju prata om det och så vidare. Och det tyckte jag, när jag hanterade informatörer, så tycker jag nog att det svåraste var den biten, att hålla på den nivån att det fortfarande blev objektivt, att man inte så att säga blev subjektiv i sin bedömning. För det är ju en jätteviktig roll man har när man hanterar informatörer.
Det som inte många människor förstår, det är att när man ger sig in i den här världen så är det en väldigt ensam plats. Du är helt själv, du är helt isolerad. Du har ju ingen att prata med. Du kan inte prata med dina föräldrar, du kan inte prata med dina vänner. Eller ingen överhuvudtaget. Och du kan absolut inte prata med de andra i din klubb. om det, för då är du död. Så det enda man kan ha tillit och förtroende för, det är din hanterare, och det måste du ha 100% av. Annars fungerar inte den relationen.
Just like Peter was saying, like you have no one to talk to, and this stuff just weighs down on you, and you're living this secret life, and you don't even, sometimes you just don't know what to say. I mean, you've come to the end, and they can help you a little bit, but even they don't understand what you're going through because you're living in this whole world, and they're seeing it from the outside. They might listen to it, but they don't know. One time I got called in, I got sent for in New York, and being sent for in the mafia is like one of the worst things ever because you don't know, am I gonna get killed? Am I gonna get beat up? Do I have to kill someone else? What am I gonna do? So I got a call at, it was about 6 o'clock, it was getting dark, it was in the wintertime, about 5:30. And the guy said to me, Eddie said, we need you to come to the truck yard right now. And I'm like, well, I'm busy. And he goes, I'll come get you, but you have to go. And I'm like, okay, I'll drive over there. So I tried calling the FBI in New York. No one was there. They're all gone because it was a Friday. No one that I could talk to. No one had their cell phones on. I called John, and he happened to be on vacation, so he wasn't around. So I decided finally, I knew another guy in Santa Ana office, and I called Will. And I said, they're sending for me. He goes, let me get a hold of John. So he got John on a conference call, and they both told me don't go, but I said I have to go or they'll kill me if they find me afterwards. And the main rule is when you're called in, you have to go. So I drove over there, and I got to the truck lot, and Eddie and this other guy were beating up another guy in the lot when I got there. And then they saw me, they started smiling, and then he came over, hugged me, and he said, you know, it's Christmas time, we're gonna buy the capo who's in charge of us a truck. We need some money from you. How much do you have on you? And I said, oh, I got about 5,000 or 6,000. He's like, all right, well, I don't want to leave you with no money. Can you give me 5,000? I said, yes. So that was it. That was my Christmas. I gave a Christmas bonus away, but that was all they wanted. So the whole time I was worried, I was nervous. I got there and all they wanted was the money. So it was not a big deal.
Det har ju försvunnit ett antal personer där man tror åtminstone att den bakomliggande orsaken är att man misstänkt att personen är en informatör, snedstreck infiltratör. Sen finns det olika nivåer på vad man har gjort. Det finns ju folk som exempelvis i en förundersökning säger lite för mycket, ett förhör säger för mycket. Man är för pratsam i ett förhör, vilket också av många då kan tycka, många brottslingar som tycker att det förstås är direkt olämpligt, och då blir ju personerna misshandlade, hotade, kan få böter utav organisationen och så vidare, utslängda.
Ja, jag kanske måste förklara det med bad standing, för folk hör det ordet ganska ofta och inte förstår innebörden, utan de tror att det handlar om att du inte accepterar att du ska ha en smäll på käften. Det är ju inte det handlar om. Nu är det ju så att i Sverige så har det inte varit så fullt ut vad bad standing är. Bad standing är att varenda medlem eller varenda associerad till din klubb som ser dig på gatan ska omedelbart döda dig. Omedelbart. Annars blir du själv bad standing. Det finns inga ursäkter om du inte agerar direkt när du ser den personen som är bad standing. Det är ett dödsmärke. Du är branded to death. Och den sitter alltid i. Och det är ju det som folk tror också, som jag vet många poliser har sagt det, att ja men herregud, om 4-5 år så har de glömt bort dig och det här borta, och de här personerna sitter inne eller döda eller hoppar av själva eller inte finns. Det är inte så. De här personerna som var med när du var med, det är en sak. De kanske har ett personligt hat. Men du har förnedrat klubben. Alltså märket. Deras patch. Bandidos eller Hells Angels eller Outlaws eller vilken klubb som helst. Och det är den som lämnar ut bad standing. Och sen spelar det ingen roll om det är 100 medlemmar som försvinner eller kommer 100 nya. Det är ointressant. Du är bad standing. De delar ut kort på dig. Information om dig, hur gammal du är, vilka tatueringar du har, hur du ser ut och så vidare. Till alla chapters över hela världen. Jag vet att polisen gjorde en razzia på en bandidosklubb i Sverige. Där hittade de en dödslista på väggen, och jag stod också med andra namn med min bild bredvid.
Everyone's always on the up and up. Everyone thinks everyone's a rat anyways. So if they, for some reason, if it's something they say, or if there's something that they do that brings that attention to them, they can get hurt. They can get beat up. They can get dealt with, is what they're calling it, as far as, hey, you know what, if you're a rat, you're bringing people into the group that's a rat, yeah, you're going to be dealt with. So there have been informants that have been killed.
I mean, so it's no brotherhood. It's
there's no honor. None.
There's no honor. It's a lot of bullshit. And it's always like the guy that's closest to you, he's the guy that
that's the guy. Yeah, that's the guy that's going to kill you. Is your friend, your best friend. Even me, when they had me go on the hit with that I recorded for the FBI with Craig Marino. Craig and I used to go out to lunch. We used to go to the movies. He used to come over and hang out at my house. We'd go out at night, and they chose me to do it.
Man måste förstå att allting som händer i den där världen händer väldigt fort. Det kan gå på ett par sekunder bara, eller ett par minuter, och man kanske inte har så lång tid på sig att förbereda. Från att en sak är planerat att gå så kan det liksom gå helt åt andra hållet på bara någon sekund. Och det man måste alltid komma ihåg, det är ju att det största problemet att vara bland de här människorna, leva med de här, det är att det är mycket droger, mycket sprit och mycket macho-attityd och mycket vapen och så vidare. Är att de lever faktiskt i sekunder. De lever inte i det förgångna, de lever inte i framtiden. Utan de har inga planer för nästa vecka eller vad de ska göra imorgon. De tänker inte på vad som de gjorde igår heller. Utan de lever här och nu. Och här och nu kan ändras otroligt fort. Det kan ske på en halv sekund. Från att sitta och dricka en öl till att skjuta ner 200 gäster. Som kommer in genom dörren bara för att visa att de tillhör en annan klubb.
Okay, my first thing was dealing cocaine, and I used to deal in kilo quantities or above, and I would transport it too. I was a transporter. So I'd pick up 30, 40, 50, whatever it was, and then transport them with like 2,000 per kilo or something like that. And then after that was my main thing. But after I realized that the market was going to dry up in that, and that it brings too much heat, I decided that I would move out of that into pornography. And I was I started doing, I took the money from the cocaine and I put it into to pornography and gambling. I never gambled, but I was always into taking action on sports bets. And so I started growing that business. And then for many years, forever, I did the pornography and the gambling. And when I started working with the FBI, I was still doing the pornography. But that started to be not so profitable, but the girls that I could get from that, they're attractive, and I could bring those girls around all the wise guys, and that made me like a superstar. So I kept doing a little bit in that world, but I moved farther and farther away from it. And then when I was working, they let me keep all my bookmaking money.
Det finns ju massor med olika operationer som polisen har styrt mig in med i att vad ska vi börja med? Det är allt möjligt från bankrån till mord, förberedelse till mord, grovt narkotikahandel, vapenaffärer och så vidare, och även ekonomiska brott. Specifikt ett fall så vet jag när vi var med brödskapet, vi fick ett förfrågan från Hells Angels att åka och ta bort några stycken från Bandidos. Så tyckte min hanterare då det var bättre att jag följde med dem som åkte, så vi hade full information vad de gör. För det här skulle ske i Norge. Istället för att jag skulle vara kvar och inte följa med dem, så var det bättre att ha mig med och tala om exakt var de var, vad som skedde och så vidare. Och lyckligtvis så hittade vi inte de där 2 Bandidos-medlemmarna, utan de hade redan flyttade från Oslo då.
It got really hard for me to wear a wire going into people's homes and sharing times with them, like vacations or holidays, and we're all sitting at the table. Or I would go to a funeral and it'd be after a death, and I would be recording the conversations, knowing that I'm putting them in prison. And then it started to turn for me where I realized I'm not putting them in prison; they're putting themselves in prison for what they're doing. I was just there. I was like a weapon. I'm just there to facilitate their doom, and that's all I would do.
Nej, i början så när jag började jobba så fanns det inget sånt. Då var det att jag skulle behålla det. För det var på väldigt liten skala. Man måste också se att det här är i Sverige. Det här är inte USA nu. Utan det är inte så otroligt mycket pengar det här rör sig om. Men i början så var det då inte så pass mycket. Och då blev jag tillsagd av mina terar att jag skulle använda det för att hålla upp med min standard. Och kunna åka på alla de här runsen och alla de här festerna och alltihopa. Och ha en bra bil och så vidare. Det var ju ett krav. Och det är också ett krav av klubben, för kommer du ut på en gammal motorcykel, en gammal bil som lägger av eller inte startar när den ska. Alla de andra medlemmar säger, men den här killen, det går inget bra för han. Liksom. Det är inte en tillgång för klubben. Utan man måste ju alltid uppgradera sig hela tiden. Jag menar, kommer jag en Volvo och så nästa dag kommer en BMW så ser det bra ut för klubben också. Det är ju så att de vill arbeta som drar in pengar till klubben. Det är allting handlar om pengar och makt i den här världen. Det handlar inte om brödraskap och kärlek eller ta hand om varandra, utan det handlar om hur mycket pengar du kan dra in till klubben.
Well, obviously, informant safety is everyone's concern, especially in law enforcement. So when they try to infiltrate a culture or a group of bad guys, and they find out that they're actually have been infiltrated and they're the so-called rat, law enforcement has a duty to protect those informants.
And the thing is, what I was supposed to do is like text the code that they're actually going to come in. But even if I would send that would be only go to my handler. I know that because he is the one that pulled the trigger to call those guys. But those guys were never there. So then it comes back. It plays on your feelings that you are his best friend, and you also have explanation about everything. So even if you have back in your head that he said, "Yeah, but he's lying," and it's like it can't be true. You know it, but he says, "Well, we were there, but something did go wrong or whatever, but it went all right. You're back. It was no problem. So why think about it now?"
I got the same exact. It's crazy because it's in a different country, but I got the same exact thing. We lost you guys in traffic. The wire wasn't working because most of the time I wore a recorder. Once in a while I'd wear a wire that like actually would send out a radio signal. And they'd say that but even when I wore that, they'd always make me wear the recorder mic too. Oh, in case we lose signal or something like that, in case you're somewhere. So I never really trusted that. I also had a text that I was supposed to give, Tara OC, my ex-girlfriend's name, and then that was like the safe word or the I'm in trouble word. Do I believe that they're out there? No, now, no. But back then I believed it. You have to. When he told me, when they told you, right, that they're out there, you want to believe it,
yeah,
and you have to.
You have to believe it because your life depends on it.
Your life depends on it. You're still going to go out and do this stuff.
It's when you're working in an undercover capacity, you want to record it and document as much as you can. So nowadays, with the technology the way it is, in my day it used to be all recordings. Now it's digital. But I'm not going to tell you what type of digital equipment they use for obvious reasons, because I want to keep the upper hand in the game, even though I'm not doing that anymore. It wouldn't be fair to the people that are working undercover right now today. It would be a safety issue.
I put over 62 guys away, ranging from sentences from 5 years to 15 years. I think I got another guy life. And then like it continues on because Teddy Persico and Eddie Garofolo just pleaded guilty 2 weeks ago. Teddy's going to get sentenced to, he pled guilty to a sentence. He's going to get 12 years for conspiracy on 2 murders. And Eddie pleaded guilty for 2 murders, but they didn't tell me how much they're going to give him yet. And I was supposed to come testify, and the reason that they pled out is because they knew I was going to come. And what I had to say about him is way worse than what they were going to get charged with. So they didn't want that.
Maybe it's been 40, 50 guys they put away for long sentences, but also it's all that kind of extra small information you leave is what street soldiers or errand boys they get like a couple of years or something like that. That actually is a follow-up on that what you left, that they actually get side information on doing. So you never can tell, but I mean, if you count everybody, I don't know, it's probably maybe 100.
Also, because when we lived in that world for so long, you buy into it, you believe it, and you believe that is the world, that little thing. And it was really easy. You saw people get killed and tracked down because they continued to live in that world, even when they knew they were in danger. So it's really easy for them to get a friend at that point and get you into a house and shoot you because you're in that world. But once you get out, like it took me about a year, a little bit longer, to like decompress, like kind of kick the drug habit, the Cosa Nostra habit. And then I realized, God, they were just brainwashing me. Like I don't have anything to be scared of. Like I used to be scared of every time I'd see like a guy.
You think they're all everywhere, around the corner.
I could look everywhere. I'd see a guy from Brooklyn, and it's not true. And then like I'm out of sight, out of mind. So the guys that I put away, the other guys moved up. The new guys who moved up are making more money. They have no interest in getting me. They're like, well, I'm making a lot of money now. I'm in middle management. I used to be a soldier. Now I'm up there. I know the guys that are capos are now up there, street boss or higher. They're like, well, you know.
I don't want to kill the guy.
Yeah, you guy kind of did me a favor. And
the other guy's in prison. And if I do this, I might get in trouble. Get that. I'm here to make money.
If I got to kill the guy that made me a favor, I'm going to end up in jail and I'm not going to make any money at all.
Right.
I'm gone. So why should I do it? Förutom en enda gång jag träffade en hälsovårdsmedlem från Sverige på en flygplats. Han kommer nerför rulltrappan och jag åkte upp för rulltrappan. Och jag vet att han kände igen mig till 100%. Men jag kände inte något direkt hot eller någon blev rädd eller så vidare. Med tanke på att han var själv och det var inne på en flygplats. Och jag lämnade den platsen ganska omgående, vilket fall som helst. Vilket han gjort, men han började ju ringa väldigt kraftigt kan jag säga. Det är väl det närmaste jag kommit.
Paranoia has been a part of my life since I was young, like 13 or 14. I always lived wondering who's watching me. Like I was taught always never to speak on the phone, never say anything that I didn't want repeated back to me on the phone. I was taught to never use the house phone ever. I never even pick it up.
But as Kenny said, I'm not. I know what's going to happen in the end. I'm not afraid of it, but you just have to accept it. But the hard thing is, for me, is to prepare those my family and those I love for the loss. And I always try to do everything so they are not around when it's going to happen. Try to protect them as much as possible. That's the most important thing.
I can't live in fear. If I live in fear, then they still control me. I might as well just be right back on the street again or in prison because that's where I'd be. And I know guys that have left that do live in fear, that won't come out, live way far away in the country, don't do anything, they drink all the time. And I'm like, dude, how can you live like that? You might as well have got shot down in Brooklyn because you're dead. I live my life. And if they get me, so be it. As long as they don't take anyone else with them, I'm good. I can handle it. And you know what? It is the price that I paid because I lived that life and I did what I did. And that's it. You know, and if it's my time, it's my time.